Here's an example of what our daffodils at home look like right now. Hello and good morning. It's Heather and Phil, and we are here lined up at the gate to Gibbs Gardens, which is in Georgia. What city in Georgia are we? Ball Ground, Georgia. We're in Ball Ground, Georgia at Gibbs Gardens, which opens at 9 o'clock. We bought a full year membership. Neither one of us have ever been here before, but we've heard great things about it from several people, and we decided to just go ahead and buy a membership. So here we are, and I feel like we're at Cades Cove. At Cades Cove, you line up to get in, and they open the gate at sunrise, but here at Gibbs Gardens, they open the gate at 9 a.m., and we can't wait to go and see this amazing garden that we've heard lots of good things about from lots of people. So let's get going. Open the gate. He's opening the gates. As you can see here, there's kind of a long meandering drive around these hills and beautiful landscapes before you get to the parking area there at Gibbs Gardens. Well, we are inside Gibbs Gardens now, and we haven't made it to the daffodils. There's signs as we walk along. Daffodils this way, although we've seen lots of daffodils, we haven't seen the major daffodil garden. But, you know, I'm a sucker for a gazebo, so I thought we'd say hello right here in front of this gazebo. And over here's there's a pond over here, and a pond over there, and bridges. And, you know, it's pretty cold this morning, and, you know, the flower that I most associate with wintertime is pansies, and there are a lot of pansies kind of lining the walkways here. As we were making the walk to the daffodils, the first place that I had to stop and get my camera out was when we ran across this beautiful paper bush, very fragrant. Well, we're kind of just barely at the beginning of the place, and Heather and I are just stuck because there's so many beautiful flower compositions to experiment with. She's really carrying the ultimate lens to carry to this place. She's got the Tamron 18-400, so she can do relatively wide shots. She can do macro shots. She can do medium telephoto. She can do it all. I started out with the 16-50 kit lens, and I'm going to switch to the 50-250 now. Here's a sunstar shot that I made looking at the huge hill of daffodils. You know, I wish that place opened a little bit earlier than 9 a.m. and then I could have gotten the sun lower in the sky, but that was the best I could do at 9 a.m. Here's Heather's shot looking up the hill. Lots of beautiful, beautiful flowers in this, and the trees. I love the way the flowers are totally in bloom and green, and the trees are still in winter form. And here's my shot. This is kind of looking across the hill. The path zigzags its way up the hill. And in this one, you can see the flowers in bloom and all the yellows and greens and the trees in the background. Here's Heather's shot, a nice backlit shot of these white and yellow daffodils that I thought was really beautiful. And it was fun to watch Heather working super hard. You know, there's people walking all around, and she was totally ignoring them and just working and working and working on her shots. And I made this one with the 16-50 kit lens, and here is one of those shots that Heather worked on. I really like this one quite a bit, with the two white and yellow daffodils in the foreground and the bokeh-fied yellow ones in the background. This is a plant that I guess was left over from last year. I wasn't able to figure out what it is, but I thought it was really beautiful and I liked the light on it, so I made this shot. Now here is a shot that Heather made, and she has shared this one on Instagram, so you may have seen it. A really beautiful shot of a single white and yellow daffodil with bokeh-fied yellow ones in the background. Look at this backlit hill of forest and zigzagging trails and daffodils. All my previous shots in the video were with the 16-50, and now I have switched to the 50-250 lens to make a little bit more detailed shots. Here's Heather's shot. She really liked these daffodils. They were smaller than a lot of the other ones, but she liked the orange center section and the yellow outer section and the way the petals leaned backwards. Here's my shot, kind of a rule of odds shot with 3 white and yellow daffodils in the foreground and some bokeh-fied yellow ones in the background. Here's another shot I made of Heather, and this one you can really see all the colors of the harbingers of spring, the daffodils, all over the place, and everything else still looks like wintertime. And this is a tufted titmouse photo that I made with a 250mm lens. Always cool to get a picture of a tiny bird with a small lens. I thought that was neat. We're not at the very top of the hill yet, but we've come a good ways up this hill full of daffodils. Probably more than 50% of them are not blooming yet because we are super early in the season. But it's been really fun, and I'm telling you what, Heather, she is working on those compositions. I'll get to moving on. I'll look back and she's sitting down by the edge of the daffodils making shots. Pretty awesome. Let me show you the view from the top of this hill. There's the chairs, and you can see the hill goes on up some more. And way down there is where we started, and the hill goes up in the other direction with more daffodils. The hill that we were on, and we've been kind of waiting to shoot in this little spot right here, which is really pretty. And there was a guy working about right there for a long time while we went all the way up the hill and down, and we were coming down to maybe use those porta potties, and then he started leaving, and as he left we walked past him and he was using a Z6 too. Here's some daffodil photos from that area. This is Heather's photograph, really beautiful, looking straight at the daffodil. I had trouble getting attractive compositions looking straight at them. Most of mine were kind of like this shot here of mine, where I would look at the daffodil from the side. I kind of like this one with the near daffodil nicely in focus and the other one bokeh-fied. And here's another one of Heather's. This one's another beautifully backlit shot. Lots of beautiful colors and bokeh in this one. And I like the light and shade on the bloom. I'm trying out some intentional camera movement now, where I've got the shutter speed at about 1/4 of a second, and I start at the base of the flower and I run a 2-second timer, and as the timer gets going I'll slowly move the camera up, kind of like this on the tripod, and when it shoots its 1/4 of a second the camera's moving up, and it gives it a kind of a ethereal look, maybe. Or maybe it looks weird. We'll see. Here is an intentional camera movement shot. You can see the blurred daffodils, and it was hard to get it just right to where you had just stems and blooms, but I finally got it on this one. And Heather and I had talked the night before about doing intentional camera movement, and at the exact same time she started trying it as well. This shot was really cool with lots of blues as well as the greens and yellows. Now on this shot, I let the shutter open before I moved the camera, so you have kind of a still image of the flowers, and then I turned the camera sideways to let them kind of drift off. There's a lot of people here. This is the first weekend they've been open, and probably more than 50% of the daffodils are not in bloom yet, but it's really, really beautiful. And it's not like where you can't move around, but there's quite a few people. Everywhere you look on the trails there's people. And you can see a little family behind me doing their thing. And I'm trying my diffuser filter now a little bit. Okay, so this photo is from the bottom of the hill, kind of looking up where we were doing the intentional camera movement shots. And this one is with the diffuser filter on the camera. And this is basically the exact same composition. There are some people in the background that weren't in the previous one. Same composition, same settings, without the diffuser filter, and I kind of like it both ways. I can't decide. Here it is with the diffuser, and you can tell me which one you like best. Here it is without the diffuser. It's kind of an interesting effect. We're on the hill on the other side. There's the gazebo that we were at before, and we've been all up and down that hill, but now we're on the hill on the other side, and this is really the only good patch right here, and we've been making some shots of that. And now I have put on a Helios lens, 44-2 with a extension tube with a focus helicoid in it. I like the way this shot with the Helios came out. This was at f8, and even at f8 it's still only partially in focus, but I do think that Helios really renders beautiful images. I made a few shots with the Helios lens, but it really takes a while to set up a shot, and there's people constantly moving around, so you need to be able to get your shot set up quicker than that. So, plus it's really, really, really up close shots because I have that extension tube on it. But anyway, back to the 50 to 250. And here's a shot from that same location using the 50 to 250, just a single bloom in amongst lots of green stems. I thought that turned out pretty. Well, Heather is continuing to use the same lens, the 18 to 400, one lens to rule them all, Tamron. Here's 3 of Heather's shots. I really like this shot of this one bloom pointing to the left with several blooms looking right at you in the background, nicely bokeh-fied. And on this photograph here, Heather is really up close on a single bloom, and the only thing in focus are the reproductive parts there in the center of the flower. Everything else is slightly out of focus. And here is Heather's shot. I really love the light on this one and the focus point that she's chosen there in the center of the flower, of one flower amongst lots of green. Well, we were walking up this gravel road, sort of a trail, kind of out of the way of everything, and you know, all we've seen is daffodils, 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 and look what we found. I think this, if I can get it in the frame, I think this is crocus. So we made some shots of that. These things are really pretty. Heather and I both spent some time making photos of them, and they're in kind of harsh light, and you're not allowed to bring diffusers in here, so I just held my camera bag over and blocked the sun with it. I really love the way this photograph turned out. You know, the day was supposed to be all about daffodils, but it was nice to find another springtime flower beautifully in bloom, and I like the way this photo turned out. And Heather got a really nice shot as well of those crocus flowers that were kind of out of the way, all by themselves, and we were happy to see them. And then we decided we were hungry and we started walking back, but I had to bag one more shot of these beautiful daffodils as we were walking back to the main area of Gibbs Gardens. And this is another photograph. This is that gazebo where we were at early in the video, but this is a shot from the back side of it looking over towards kind of the entrance area. Well, we want food. Both of us are officially hungry, but we also really like this little man-made falls over here in this creek. So as you can see, Heather's working and I made my shot. I'm shooting at 50 millimeters on the 16 to 50, f/16 ISO 100, half a second, 3-stop neutral density and a circular polarizer. You got a 3-stop and a polarizer on too?
Yeah.
And she's at about 55 or 60 on the 18 to 400. Fun, fun, fun. This is Heather's shot of the man-made stream with the 2 little spills and waterfalls. Really beautiful as we were trying to walk back to get something to eat. And I did a vertical shot as well, but I think I liked my horizontal shot that I did before I did the vertical shot a little bit better. Both ways is really nice. To the little cafe that's here, and I got a barbecue pork sandwich and some Cheetos, and Heather got a hot dog and some chips, Sprite and a Coke. And we're using a chair as our table because there's no tables out here. Well, lunch was really good, and now we're kind of investigating some other areas of the garden, or gardens, I should say. You know, we've left the daffodil area, which is kind of what's really going on now. We came down past the Monet replica bridge, and not much going on. But then we got to here, and there's this really cool row of crepe myrtles. Of course, they're not blooming or anything, but the way they're planted is really cool, and there's some other flowers, so we are ready to start taking pictures again. Heather made this photograph of me with those crepe myrtles that I just talked about in the background, and in case you're wondering, yes, I absolutely am sucking in my big fat gut. Well, these little flowers that we found are really beautiful, and I thought they might have been pansies, but I think actually they're viola. So been trying to get shots of them, and I can't quite get close enough with the 50 to 250. Heather's still doing perfectly fine with her 18 to 400. That's an amazingly versatile lens. But I have put on the FTZ and the 105 f2.8 macro f-mount lens. Here's Heather's photo of these beautiful viola flowers. I thought they were really pretty, and there were pansies planted right next to them, and they just were not as pretty. Here's my photograph of the flowers there, and the pansies, the blooms seemed to kind of fall apart and be more dilapidated looking, while these looked much, much better. And then here is one more of Heather's shots of them. They were really beautiful and a joy to photograph there at Gibbs Gardens. We went down and we walked all through the Japanese garden section, which was really awesome. The light was really crappy though because it's about midday. But I think Heather got some pretty cool shots. I had the macro lens on. And then when we came back, we were on the other side of the creek. We came back the other side of the creek from the Japanese garden and the Monet Bridge. And there were a lot of spring, what are they called?
Spring snowflakes or snowdrops.
Spring snowdrops that were really cool. And I was very glad that I had the macro lens on during that because I got some photos of that. I think Heather got one too. There was another one of these amazingly fragrant paper bushes growing just outside the Japanese garden area. It was much larger, and I took this picture from below looking up, and you can see many bokeh-fied blooms in the background. Inside the Japanese garden, it was really beautiful, but the only photograph I made that I really liked enough to share with you is of this cool cat who was kind of waving at us. Now we fell in love, Heather and I fell in love with these beautiful spring snowflake flowers that grow from bulbs, and this is a photograph I made of one that I found in pretty decent light. I made an up-close shot that I just shared, and then this is the same flower from a little bit further back. We've kind of been studying and are considering buying some bulbs of these flowers to grow in our yard here at home. And this is Heather's photograph of the spring snowflake. This one has many more blooms on it than the one I photographed. Here's this pretty little blue flower. There were just a few of these growing, and Heather and I have not been able to positively identify these. Maybe you can tell us what they are. All right, well, our first trip to Gibbs Gardens was fantastic. Can't wait to come back here later this spring and in the summer and in the fall and see what all things they have going. It's really beautiful here, and I hope you liked it too. If you like the content, give us a thumbs up, and as always, subscribe, hit the bell. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.